Hey yo guys, I'm Marlon King, and this week I'm going to be doing a very quick review of the Sonos Play 1 speaker. Now the other week I went through how to set them up and showed you how to use the app, and also I talked about how to pair two Play 1s together. So this week I'm going to be talking specifically about the sound quality of these speakers. Stay tuned. Right guys, when we're talking about speakers, sound quality is king, and you'll be pleased to know that the Sonos Play 1s do not disappoint. Now, from the minute I turned it on and set it up and started listening to the music, I was really impressed with the sound quality. In particular, the high ends just sound really good. You can hear the cymbals coming out really nicely, and what was really most impressive was the quality of the voice. Now, when it comes to vocals, you'll notice a lot of speakers seem to, they're focusing too much on the bass or too much on the treble, and the vocals kind of just get left somewhere in the middle, and they don't always come out as well as you'd hope. Now, with Sonos, that's not the case. The vocals seem to come through crystal clear, and it's almost like they made that their primary goal when they were making these speakers, to make sure the voice just projects out really well, really clear, and it certainly doesn't disappoint. Now, another great thing with these speakers is actually the bass frequencies. So these speakers have a mid woofer, so it's kind of a mid-range speaker. It's not super big, but it handles all the bass frequencies, and it does it really well. I'm quite surprised with the depth of the bass. And if you're listening to anything like pop music, dance music, this is where this speaker is in its element. It's designed specifically for that sort of sound. It can really get that bass kick in, the vocals come out crystal clear, and the high end's really nice as well. If you're listening to rock or metal and it's well produced, you'll also be enjoying these speakers a lot because they handle that really well. And even with, let's say, rock bass, have a nice driving bass and comes out really well. The only thing I'd say with that is you'll notice a slight fluctuation in the volume of the bass notes, and in fairness, that's quite common with rock music because that's just the nature of the bass guitar. So all in all, very impressive. Now there is one caveat to that, and that is I was listening to some folk music in a kind of full band setup, and I noticed that when listening to that, if you turn the speakers up more than 50%, I did notice a very slight distortion happening, and I think it's specifically to do with the full range instrument. So if you've got an acoustic guitar and it hasn't been EQ'd in the mix and it's just left with the full range of frequencies, I think sometimes the speakers can maybe get a little bit confused because that mid woofer is trying to do deep bass and mid range as well. I think sometimes if it's trying to do the whole range and not particular elements, it can be caught out. That said, it could well have been the track that I was listening to, because pretty much everything else that I've listened to, the speakers have handled flawlessly. And even if you turn these speakers up loud, and they do go pretty loud for a small speaker, it seems to handle itself pretty okay. So even if you're listening to, say, let's say classical music or acoustic guitar music individually, it's fine. It was just this one particular track where it had a multitude of acoustic guitars and pianos and stuff, and it just seemed to, I think, struggle with all of that mid-range. Now I do have one caveat for Sonos, and that is when you set up these speakers, they have a special app. I mentioned it in the previous video, and basically you use a microphone in your phone and you go around the room, and it will create a specific EQ curve for your room. And that's really good, because when I was listening to my old stereo in this room, it sounded really bass heavy and I was not happy with the sound, and I was a little bit concerned that maybe the Sonos would have the same muddy sound. Thankfully it didn't, due to this EQ setup, and I'm really happy with that. But maybe what's happening here is the EQ curve to this room where it's maybe trying to filter out some of those low mids. That was causing the issue with the mid-range on this particular folk track that I was listening to. So there we have it. I'm pretty confident that you guys won't be disappointed in the sound quality of these speakers. Yes, there are speakers that go above and beyond this, and of course their price do as well. So Sonos also have their other range speakers. They have the Play 3, the Play 5, which have more speaker elements inside each device. It's also worth noting that Sonos have a new Play 1 called Sonos One, and the main difference is that has Amazon Alexa built in. Otherwise the speaker is pretty much the same. They've changed the design slightly, so it's pretty much all black or all white, and as I mentioned in the previous video, I actually prefer the design of the Play 1s instead, just because I like that slight difference in colour on the grille. Now for myself, I wasn't interested in having Alexa, and I was quite happy to take advantage of the discount of the Play 1s at the moment. I imagine eventually they will be phasing them out so you can only get the Sonos One. It's also worth noting that at the moment there is also a really good deal with, if you're buying 2 Sonos Ones, you can save 50 quid, so worth noting if you're in the market for them right now. And finally, one thing I will note, and that is if you are looking to pair up 2 Play 1s like I did, I was initially thinking, actually, why don't I just get 1 Sonos One and 1 Play 1, and then I can use Alexa in the kitchen and just have the Play 1 back here. And unfortunately, you cannot pair a Sonos One and a Play 1. It either has to be 2 Sonos Ones or 2 Play 1s. And as I said previously, didn't really need it, so it's just kind of a nice to have, but we decided to go with the Play 1s instead. So I really hope that review has helped you guys out. I've been really impressed with these Play 1s, hence buying 2 of them, and it's worked perfectly for this room. It's a fairly big room, as I said. It's got a little bit of echo in there, and the EQ curve that Sonos have sorted out is working really well for me, and it's pretty well designed so that it can work in most rooms. If you want to see how easy it is to set up, check my last video out where I run through the whole process step by step. I'll also show you a quick peek of how their app works. It's all simple stuff. So thanks very much guys for watching. I hope you found this helpful, and let me know below if you do end up buying a Sonos Play 1. I'll be grateful to hear from you and see what your thoughts are on these speakers. Catch you later guys, take it easy.